Hey, I'm Dr. Nashley, your favorite tech evangelist at AWS, and I am at the University of Pennsylvania talking to one of my very cool colleagues, Ira. How's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Awesome. So, Ira was one of the interns on our team this past summer at AWS AI, and I'm just curious, like, what made you interested in getting involved with topics under responsible AI?
Yeah. Um, I guess I've always been interested in computer science theory. I just think it's really fun to think about these like abstract problems, but I've also felt frustrated and worried that my work didn't really have a real impact and wasn't necessarily like improving the world around me. And so going into graduate school, something that intersected with both of those things was important to me, and things like algorithmic fairness do a nice job of that.
I would agree. Same here. Very interested in how different things overlap in terms of a part of it is, it's just good science, right? And another part of it is just good to do. And so I'm glad that a lot of more folks are getting more interested in it. And I'm curious, some of your work that you've done, can you describe or talk a little bit about some of your research or a paper that you published? And then, the intent is to kind of make this as easy to digest for the everyday layperson as possible. And so feel free to describe your work.
Yeah, so one thing that I'm interested in is how we can improve a model after we've deployed it. So sometimes, in many cases, you might deploy a model and you've done everything that you think of to make it good and fair and equitable, but you can't necessarily anticipate all of the use cases down the road. And of course, we also know that training a machine learning model is computationally costly. There's a real environmental impact there. So we want to minimize retraining as much as possible. So one question that I've been working on is, if you find issues down the line, how can you incorporate fixes and changes to your model in an efficient way, while avoiding retraining? And also, how can you do this in a way that might incorporate other communities and other voices?
Awesome. I love it. I've worked with some of the teams at AWS before, especially on our face technologies with recognition, and that is a huge issue in terms of having to retrain models and then ensure that you get the same performance that you had before you train, after you train, and you're improving in all areas, especially in some of the intersections of those areas. And so, if you have any other particular applications of your work that you can describe, in practical use, how would you describe it?
Yeah, so one thing that I've thought about is this idea of a Bias Bounties program. One thing that we've seen a lot of in the sort of intersection between the academic and algorithmic fairness communities and social justice and activist communities is that people are auditing algorithms and finding issues with them, and then they find these problems, but then there's nowhere to go with the problem. There's no solution. So one idea is this idea of a bias bounty, which has been done in practice. Twitter did one last year, where they had communities come together and say hey, can you find groups of people where in this case it was their image cropping algorithm it is performing in a biased way, and then my question was, how do we how do we evaluate what people come up with as possible issues? How do we know when something really is an issue, and then how do we fix it? And so developed a framework for this that then could be deployed and be a mechanism for communities to submit problems, and then also be rewarded for that, so that instead of an antagonistic relationship, of course companies actually do want to know about when their models aren't working, because they hopefully want to serve their clientele, as best as possible. So then how can they actually take this information and do something with it and create a better model?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess we can pretty much sum it up with that. I'm excited to read more about the paper and share that with folks and your work. Anything else you want to let people know before we go?
That's it.
It's good. You did it all in one. So thanks so much, Irene. Take care.
All right, thanks, Nash.
All right. All right, here we are. Looks like we made it to the White Dog Cafe. Here we go. Let's check it out. Hey, this is one. This one.
Yeah.
I guess I can sit at the bar, right?
Do you want to go to the bar?
Yeah, I can just.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Not bad, White Dog. Not bad at all. Sustainable, farm to table, good food. You can tell too, it's very fresh. Not bad at all. All right, it's time for me to head back to my train. It was a short trip. I was here for a good time, not a long time. But anyway, you all take care. This is Dr. Nashley signing off. Y'all have a good one.